Dynamite Download.
Dynamite Download, your home for all positive coverage on All Elite Wrestling.
Cut a promo like the DMD. They're a very
Download, you guys. Positive energy. You have a great
January recruitment month for this.
Along, I come along in the.
Well, actually, I did see that. I was thinking.
Tired of the cold spray. Tired of the cold spray.
I went to bat to do an interview with those guys. You know why? Because they spread positivity about AEW.
Welcome to Dynamite Download. Yo, it's me. It's SP.
Go ahead.
Do
it up. It's
Welcome,
your boy Crayfish
everybody.
here.
Some of
We
our
got
favorite
SPD.
times are the preview shows, and we are back for All Out. You know, Crayfish, cheers to the busy weekend. This is a double two-hearted IPA. And now we were just talking before the show, and I was like, you know, I love my IPAs, but this is almost too much of an IPA.
Yeah.
Or maybe a 1.5er, not a double.
1.5. Double.
Maybe
is
1.4 double, or
even
IPA.
less than 1.5. Wow, impressive.
I know.
You're gonna see me drinking water this show. I got a little bit of a headache. But as SPD said, the best medicine for a headache is just to talk about AEW, and that's gonna be great. So looking forward to chatting with you guys
with some of your favorites too, bro. We're gonna start that off.
That's the
in
thing,
just a moment,
right?
Some of your favorites.
I mean, nothing could stop. I mean, this is to be able to talk to you about this card. I know that wrestling this weekend. I wanted to make sure we celebrated that. Just we love great wrestling. There's nothing quite like it. I really think that like as fans, we all can recognize that getting into pro wrestling, it's just different. I mean, football's on, and this is fall. Football season's right around the corner.
Gotta admit, man, fall is my favorite time of year.
Even with that, right? Like I love fall, I love football, but wrestling is year round. It's a passion all year round, and that again, we need to give some love and respect for the performers in AEW and in WWE. These pro wrestlers, they don't get an off season, man.
That's true.
And the road to All Out was a great reminder of that. Just you and I have said it. Pedal to the metal. I mean, the talent that's on this show. When getting hyped up for this, dude, it was almost like, oh my God, that match too, and that match too. And I know we always like to talk about our picks with the fans on this show. And man, again, not a lot of no-brainer picks on this show. Just a lot of exciting stuff to talk about.
And to piggyback on that, man, you said it great. Just appreciate a good weekend of wrestling overall. I mean, it's looking back last year, we were at All Out. It was quite the unforgettable weekend. I wish we were there this weekend. It was fantastic. We will be back.
Such a good time.
One of these upcoming pay-per-views, depending on the city and destination.
Absolutely.
We will be back at a pay-per-view weekend because the whole, the shows are great. The Dynamites, the Rampages, the Battle of the Belts, those are all fun. But the weekend experience is where it's at. We ran into so many people throughout the weekend every single day, and it was nice mingling with them every single day. But putting together, looking at this card, and you said it best, like I was doing our bingo card and I was like, oh shoot, I forgot one. I forgot a match. How could I forget? I did that last time as well because these cards are so stacked and I'm running out of room. I need to start, we're talking, I think I counted 15 matches, including
it's wild. It's seriously crazy, dude.
I'm happy they did more matches on the quote unquote buy-in. Last time I think we only saw 2, maybe 3, and you're talking about 4 matches on a buy-in. You're talking a mini Rampage, mini Dynamite on free TV on YouTube, and so that's going to get the crowd going as well. And as we're talking about 15 matches, we're not going to be able to talk about them all. We picked and choose some of our favorites, obviously ones we couldn't skip, and so we're going to dive in deep into some of these, and then we'll go by that. But I mean, at the end, we'll share our cards. And, I didn't get your picks before, or I picked my picks before I looked at your picks, but a lot of similarities, in pay-per-view past, we did have kind of back and forth, and there was one that I kind of flip-flopped on, and I'm curious, I'm very curious of your Joker pick on the Casino Battle Royale. I was having trouble thinking about who I was going to pick for that. And then, shortly before we went live, I was like, all right, this is who I'm picking. And it may be kind of a shocker to you guys, but, as all that, but we'll pick that. We'll talk about that. But I want to dive right in deep into
Let's do it.
one of the the pre-show matches. Your guy, we could not talk about this 0 hour match without, or any Dynamite without you talking about your boy Pac, the Bastard, versus Kip Sabian, which when we were there last year, he was doing this gimmick. And so
That's
this
true.
gimmick,
You are right.
The box over his head has been going on for well over a year, and the box has come off.
So true.
Obviously, I don't need to ask who you picked, but what do you see coming? I know there's been a lot of, any kind of someone returns from, under the stone,
Yeah.
You kind of want to push to keep the momentum, which I agree. But as I've said before, there are very few people who should ever dethrone Pac. There are very few people who should ever beat Pac one-on-one, and those are the elites. Those are the Kenny Omegas, the Will Ospreys. Other than that, those two guys, it's tough for me to pick anyone to go over on Pac.
Well, I'm glad that you put respect on the man's name. It's good to hear that, and it's obvious that that's a reflection of years of me just rubbing his greatness into your face. Now you could
Pac's glory.
Go ahead.
Oh, Pac's in Pac's glory.
I love it. I could hear you sing his praises all day, and I'm thankful that we're starting to show off with the original Dukes, me and you talking this, because if Mindrunner was on here, I'd be arguing with him. I think Mindrunner takes the approach where my mind runs with, which is, Kip Sabian has really been committed to this gimmick. He definitely has some intrigue around him. You can tell he's transformed himself. He's fully committed to trying to really break through on another level here in AEW.
You're right.
Kip was, let's be honest, let's call spade a spade, man. When you and I watched Kip early on, we both said, man, Penelope Ford is the star of this duo,
Correct.
And then Miro came in the fold, and then Kip became a distant third. And it's kind of cool to see a guy reinvent himself. You and I have talked at length about how much we love a guy like Jericho, who's constantly coming up with new creative ways to present himself and get over. And this is an example where Kip, really has committed to that. He's clearly over. He has something really interesting here. And he kind of gives me like the Riddler vibes, which is really kind of cool. I'm digging where he's going with it. But I'm not going to, so I understand why someone like mine could say, hey, as you mentioned, SPD, this is a re-debut for this gimmick. If he comes up short after all this talk about being underrated and over it really pops, the air out of the balloon for Kip. And so, I understand maybe here's the thing. I always really struggle with this because all these pay-per-views, I feel like I'm always in a position where I want the Death Triangle to win, and usually they don't.
I know.
It really bums me out, and it makes me always my picks are always awful because I always pick them. And I think tomorrow night really could be an example where Phoenix and Penta come up short in their big match, and Pac loses his belt, and I'm sitting in the corner trying to find another way to feel happy in this pay-per-view, because honestly, if Punk wins the main event on top of all that, it's going to be tough, man. I'm going to be struggling through this.
Starting with the show, the 0 hour with Pac losing, then ending with Punk losing or winning, excuse me.
It would be like a shit sandwich. That would be a shit sandwich for your boy Crayfish. I would be pretty bummed out. And hey, with the way the Buckeyes are playing, they just scored a touchdown. I was gonna say, with the way the Buckeyes are playing right now, could just be like just a lousy weekend for me. But hopefully, my guys come through here. Talking about this matchup, one thing is for certain, right? And I don't need to tell you this. The Bastard is going to make Kip look like $1 million, right? And that's one of the things I know you love about.
You can make me look like $1 million.
Exactly. He's just another level of gamesmanship in the ring. And if Kip brings his A game, brother, this is one of those matches that I think some people might be shocked at that, truly could be one of the ones that stands out from an in-ring perspective. If these guys get that chemistry going, I think that with Pac's intensity and no nonsense attitude paired off with Kip's kind of showmanship, I mean, Kip is definitely operating in a more confident way already with this gimmick. So I'm very intrigued. Certainly you're not going to catch me, predicting my guy to drop the belt at a pay-per-view. But I can understand why some people are picking this to be an upset.
Well, against your will last time, you went with your heart and your true picking Pac last pay-per-view. I remember that. And you weren't correct, but you did the right thing. Regardless.
I always pick with my heart. And
we'll
a
talk
lot of
about
times
later in the show. I mean, you have literally two guys scissoring on my Mount Rushmore of Bryan Danielson and Chris Jericho. So
how do you pick that one?
Flip a coin. Oh my gosh.
That is going to be, I mean, truly, like, there are some times in which, I feel certain matches just get me all juiced up, and almost like sometimes they're booked just for me. And
right.
that match between Danielson and Jericho genuinely feels like it's a match booked just for you.
Thank you, Tony Khan.
Yeah, I mean, that was really nice of Tony to let you see those two guys. Yeah, thank you.
I love it. SPD.
Yep, that was really kind.
It was actually rubbing in my face for not being there live. He's like, by the way, I'm giving you a match that you probably wanted forever.
I know.
Mount Rushmore, and you're not here.
You wish that you were there. Sorry.
Read it and mother effing weed.
Enjoy it from home, buddy.
So let's move on to the next match. One of the ones that some of our favorites. Another one of the Crayfish special is Team FTR Wardlow.
Side. Oh my
gosh! I mean,
that is a crazy.
If you could build a roster,
team. Oh my god!
You could build a roster. You're talking Pac for one, and then these three guys would be your next picks, like one after another. Like, it doesn't get better than those four guys with Pac, FTR, and Wardlow. I mean,
you're right.
I have to admit off the bat, I don't know much about the Motor City Machine Guns. I know there's a lot of fans of theirs.
Well, of the Detroit,
I just don't know enough, so I'm very
Machine
curious.
Guns, as Jericho called them, which was hilarious.
Detroit.
Yeah, on Rampage. No, I mean, I'll be honest with you, from Detroit. I remember watching these guys wrestle literally at a Veterans Hall.
Wow.
So, I mean, I got to see these guys back in the heyday with, Tyler Black in ROH. And I even watched these guys at Great Lakes Championship Wrestling was called GLCW. And it was like one of those dude literally where the tickets were, $10. And I had, me, I was feeling good, had, got second row. I was cheering. I'll be honest. I was wowed by what these guys could do all that time ago. This was years ago. I'll be honest with you, man. I know you haven't had a chance to watch a lot of these guys. Alex Shelley in particular is a guy, really, even though his promo was a bit rough, his in-ring work is incredible. The Motor City Machine Guns, they're kind of one of those teams. You like the Young Bucks, you're going to like Motor City Machine Guns. They're that kind of very fluid, very fluid offense, a lot of hot tags back and forth. Both guys equally very athletic, and their chemistry is just ridiculous, right? These guys, as they talked about it in their promo, Jay Lethal, Motor City Machine Guns, Sanjay Dutt, really guys who have held down the game on the independents and really Impact became their home, their bread and butter. But
yeah,
very talented guys. I know that you're a big fan of Jay Lethal, but I'm going to just focus strictly on FTR and Wardlow here for a second.
Please do.
Literally, my dream team, right? I mean, if you're building, as you talked about it, you're building a dream roster for me. You're getting Wardlow, you're getting FTR, you're getting Pac, you're getting Britt Baker. That's my top five right there. And so I'm geeked to be able to see these guys featured in a match. Now, obviously, I felt really confident picking FTR and Wardlow to pull this one off. I'm not betting against those guys. Incredible match, just the pinnacle of pro wrestling on one side of the ring.
Aha!
But I will be honest with you. One of the cool things about this is even though I feel really good that this is going to be a W for my team, I also feel really good that this is going to be a great match, right? Like you and I both know Jay Lethal is a stud in the ring. And with the Motor City Machine Guns being able to go against FTR, again, FTR is at this point, they're just checking things off their bucket list, man. And this is going to be another team that is viewed as one of the greatest tag teams of the modern era. And FTR is going to get a chance to go toe-to-toe with them, just like we've seen with the Briscoe brothers, just like we've seen with the Bucks. These guys continue to go after the top dogs in all of pro wrestling, and this is going to be a really exciting match, dude. I think this is going to be one of those matches where if given time, and again, it's hard to tell how many matches are going to get time or not, right? But I think this could be a lot of fun to watch the styles. Again, FTR being that slow, grind you down, beat you up, outsmart you type of mentality versus a team like, let's be real. For me, Motor City Machine Guns, one of the things I've always liked about them is they keep the pace up, right? They really like to keep that pace going. Real quick, high energy type of offense. So that clash of styles is going to be really fun to watch. And then anytime I get a chance to see Wardlow in the ring, dude, I mean, I hope that we get to see a couple power bombs at All Out. That's all I'm asking for out of this one. A couple power bombs, maybe a big rig, and call it a night.
I think this is where we're gonna see him power bomb the Giant, Satnam Singh.
I love it.
I love it. I mean, we were at Battle of the Belts early August, and he got put through a table, and he kind of threatened that. I think it will be. There we go, mine. We're clicking right there. This is where Singh gets the powerbomb symphony. Now, whether that be, of course, my pick was FTR and Wardlow. Definitely can't bet against those guys.
Wow.
But I think it's going to be one of those. Man, it's so tough because just every time we pull up a card or a match card, I'm like, oh, this could be the match of the night. This could be the match of the night. But I mean, like,
you're right.
telling them, this is one I'm really looking forward to, obviously for Team AEW, but for the curiosity of what I haven't seen of the new and unknown. And, you know,
you've been surprised pleasantly by a lot of these, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of these things, like, I can't. My phone sometimes you're blowing up my phone with how much you love Will Ospreay, right? Like you're a big Jay Lethal fan.
Yeah.
I think that you've been pleasantly surprised by a lot of these guys that AEW's brought in. I mean, obviously you've always loved Samoa Joe, but guys that they continue to bring in, I think here's another recent new one, right? Morrissey, right? That's another dude who I know you're interested in.
We didn't get a chance to talk about Dynamite, but that was quite the debut, I guess.
The big man.
Debut. Yeah.
The big man. I think that there's a lot of promise there. I like where we're going with some of this stuff, man. And I think that you could be pleasantly surprised by this matchup. That intrigue is always fun when you're a fan and you don't know what to expect.
So, do you think there's going to be a clean win on this before we move to the next one? I just can't wait for. I want this to be maybe the show opener. I think this would be a really, really good show opener. I mean, you have a team that like FTR that's so over and Wardlow so over, and you know it would be a great back and forth. You know, we have 2 trios matches on the card, 1 tag team match, fatal 4-way, no extreme matches or anything, but this is going to be pretty sweet match on this one. But talking about more exotic matches, let's move on to the Casino Battle Royal. And the ladder match is back. And one of my favorites, like I mentioned before, ladder match is one of my favorite style of, specialty matches. I just like that level of having a climb and the more high flying, and any way you see it, it's definitely more abuse and more physical. And you look at the who's already announced, and right away I was like, this is like a tag team ladder match. I mean, obviously you have Blackpool Combat Club got each other's back, the Lucha Brothers, my favorite tag team, and then you got Rush and Andrade, who have been recently teaming as a tag team. Dante Martin, who is just incredible. I see the Joker being a true wild card and no one affiliated with any of these groups per se. And the reason why I would love to have John. Originally I had Andrade to pick for this to win, and so that's who I was slated to win, which I would like to see. But I don't want to see Andrade take a L against CM Punk that soon. Typically, AEW and historically, the winner of this match gets a match pretty quick. And how often has the Casino Ladder match winner won? Never, I don't think. Please, if someone knows, I don't think it has won ever. So that being said, that's a good one too, mine runner Adam Cole. But the more I was thinking of it, I think it would be kind of unique and for Sean Spears to be it and win the chairman.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
I know we haven't seen him, and he's been doing some really cool stuff. And it's one of those, I try to think of the big picture of like whoever wins, I feel like is going to take an L, sadly. So who could you protect, but also have a good pop for and have a great match against the champ after All Out? So Sean Spears,
you can always
could segue into an MJF debut at Arthur Ashe.
That's true. I like that idea.
If Sean Spears wins and then loses to the champ, MJF can come debut, and then boom, he's back debut.
You're always thinking long term. I really do like that. That's a good call by you, because at first when you said Spears, I was like, I don't know. But now that you mentioned, the potential, how it would all play out, as you said, typically they don't win. But if Punk does indeed win, the long play here with MJF, which I miss MJF. I know people. I know the roster is so loaded with talent that it's easy to forget. Some of the big names, but I don't think the MJF's a name that you forget. The guy, I just miss him.
I don't think he's at All Out. I personally think
he's a name that a lot of people were floating that out there. Could he be the Joker? I agree with you. I don't think that he's the Joker here. I also saw a name out here that a lot of people have been going back and forth on, Samoa Joe, right? Samoa Joe has been off TV for a little while. Samoa Joe and CM Punk have amazing history. He could kind of be the old, like the tradition, like the true vet. And while Punk might feel like, we've bantered about this idea, he's here for the money, right? So it could be Joe with the grit versus Punk with the money. And their history together is incredible. That would be cool. But I also think that Danhausen, that would be funny, actually. Danhausen would be the crowd would pop really big for that, actually. So even though that's funny, John, crowd would eat that up. And it'd probably be more popular than my pick, but we just got done talking about this guy. I think Morrissey fits here perfectly.
Wow, okay.
He came off a really big display of his power, and it made him feel like a big deal. It also, when you think about him getting a business card, what better business opportunity could there be for somebody to get a secured spot in this match? And also, I think one of the things that goes unnoticed here, not really discussed, is, in these types of matchups, you typically always have one big man who, kind of is the base, who can do a lot of incredible spots, has that size. And you look at a lot of these competitors in this match, Wheeler, Phoenix, Dante, Andrade, even Rush, even though you would never say Andrade or Rush are small, their offense is more speed-based, more athleticism-based. Now, again, Cesaro is a power guy, but he's not that traditional powerhouse like we're used to seeing, like a Brian Cage, a Lance Archer.
I would love to see in there.
Honestly, if you had Lance Archer or Brian Cage in that role, I'd be fine with that. I just see Morrissey as the new young direction that they look at as a big man that can kind of fill that role of a Lance Archer type of thing. And there's no replacing the Murder Hawk. But
agree.
I think Morrissey he's an upside guy.
He looks like $1 million. I got to give him props. I mean, the guy deserves to be rewarded. Turned his life around, with his own personal demons. Looks fantastic. I'm excited to see. I hope they sign him all elite. I don't know.
I agree.
Why you would do that if you didn't?
I see a big future ahead of him. Dude, we know that he can get over, right? We know that, and we also know that he's 7 feet tall, and you can't teach that. Let's be real, man. He has a special. He is what we talk about when we talk. We were talking about it this week leading up to this match or to this show. You know, one of our conversation pieces is, you know, who are those big breakout stars? And when you look at breakout stars in wrestling, I'm always going to be one of those guys who looks at the guys who can do things, who are unique or break out in a way that just no other people can do it. Pac being an example is a guy who there's only so many people who can do what he can do in the ring. A guy, again, who, you know, I'm big on, Wardlow, big physical freak who can just do it all. This is a guy, Morrissey, who I think, if presented in the right way, could be a power guy in this company that can rival a Wardlow, rival a Will Hobbs, a guy who they can really solidify as a legit big man. And I think this company looks at it and says, that is still a spot with Keith Lee, some of these big, massive power heavyweights. Having a guy like Morrissey emerge on the scene could be really big for them.
So who is your pick to be the Joker?
I picked Morrissey. I picked Morrissey to be the Joker and to win the match. So
that's a great pick.
I think that he's a guy who has a ton of upside. And again, you're talking potential Arthur Ashe. Imagine if he's out there and a couple haters, if they somehow get Enzo in AEW with him, I would be all in for that. I honestly
fan
of so sick.
Those guys, Enzo and Cass. I love their gimmick, and I think they work together well, and I think they would even work together even more with the mic skills and the kind of loose.
They could kill it in AEW. Exactly. With a little bit more freedom, those guys could kill it on a level like, you know, we all love the Acclaimed, right? Like, you give these guys the creative freedom that the Acclaimed have, you're gonna get gold. You are. Right. It's gonna happen. So I'm going all in. Based off of what I saw, maybe it's recency bias, but I would be geeked if that ended up happening. I would love to see AEW go towards that. I think that they could have a home run hit on their hands.
Now, before we switch into the next match, my two Mount Rushmore ones, Jericho and Danielson, what is your take? I know we were texting a little bit of the Stokely card. What do you think? When are we going to see an end result of that? Like, what do you think is going to happen here?
You're asking me that question, and I think this is a big payoff for them, right? Okay. Stokely has, and a lot of people online are talking about it. It's a great question, right? Like, where is this going? It feels like he's handing out cards to everybody on the roster.
But so far, correct us if we're wrong in the chat. We got Lee Moriarty, Gun Club,
Ethan Page,
Crayfish and Morrissey.
Favorite.
And Morrissey. So that's
an awesome crew, man. That's a really
cool crew. You put those guys together. Yeah. And it's one of those kind of odd things.
For me, like, okay, out of those guys, right? Maybe Ethan Page, now that you brought it up, he'd be a great fit in this role.
I thought of that too, but I don't want him to take an L getting an opportunity. These are guys that Ethan Page, I want to see a push. These are guys like Morrissey, I would want to see a push.
Even just getting an opportunity, like, is a push for a guy like Ethan Page or Morrissey, right? Like,
finally, he's in the main event title.
Give the man, and how many times do you talk about it? Give the guy an opportunity to shine and see what they do, right? You're a big advocate for that. If you just give that person the time, you gotta give people. If you give somebody a shot, that's the only way that you can find out if they can do it. Right? That's the only way. And there are people who crumble in those moments, and we've seen that. But then there are people who can shine, and they shine their brightest when they're given a big opportunity. You and I both agree, and I've been a big advocate. I believe Ethan Page can be a guy like that. I really do. I think that if Morrissey, given his history and his ability to navigate some of that, those big moments, the big stage is never going to freak this dude out. I just think that this would be a huge moment on the scope of the card, right? You think of all these other big things that have been planned for this. Think about how much TV time has been invested in Stokely's group, right?
True.
I think this is an opportunity where Stokely's group gets their payoff, right? And it launches them into a new direction. How big would it be for Stokely as a manager to be able to go out there and say, I got my client an opportunity in that match and he won. And now I'm going to get
in it and he won. Yeah,
exactly. I think that it's a story that maybe isn't talked a lot about amongst fans because everybody gets excited about the Joker. And I hear a lot of people talking MJF. That would be sweet. Right. But like,
I don't want MJF to be the Joker. I really don't.
But online, right? People
Yeah.
are throwing out a lot of big names and stuff. I just think that when you think about storylines, I think that the storyline, it can make a lot of sense for Stokely to be able to have that golden ticket, the golden goose, the one that he can say, look what I did. And I think that Morrissey is the guy who can come out and have that impressive presence and be the lead guy of that faction.
Yeah.
Ethan Page, I think, is a great intercontinental type of level. But I think Morrissey, given the right mouthpiece and all that, he could be a world championship contender. You throw him in a match against Moxley and tell me you wouldn't love that, right? So,
of course I would.
Anyway, I could go on and on about this, but I think that's what
my
I think
side of the
exciting.
coin, real quick, is
go ahead, Pee Wee.
Spears wins.
I like your idea. I love your idea.
MJF makes Sean Spears give him his opportunity, or he sacrifices his title shot for MJF and loyalty. Something along those lines. You could play that card on that. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I hope they don't miss the opportunity of the Joker, because you could really create a lot of fun storylines. And with this one, Danielson, Jericho, Lionheart, Dragon. I love that they're resurfacing this Lionheart gimmick with Jericho, and he's really. I mean, the guy is 50 plus years old, and he's at the top of his game. You cannot say it enough how amazing Jericho is in shape, in character, everything about it. He's just continually reinventing himself. And, I'm preaching to the choir. You completely agree. And Danielson can't put on a bad match.
No,
and
it's not in his DNA.
It's not in his DNA. And so when Jericho wants to turn it up a notch into this Lionheart or the Painmaker, he could do that. He is a chameleon within the ring, chameleon within the mic and within characters. And not many people that I can think of are on that level of Jericho. Yes, obviously Danielson is younger and more limber and agile than Jericho, but it doesn't matter. Jericho has proven to still not be missing a beat at all. And I think this one, they're going to beat the crap out of each other. And with so many great matches on the card, this one, I'm really, really intrigued for the storyline just because of these guys. I think so highly of both of them and their character, and the story that's being told around the Daniel Garcia saga.
Yeah.
But
tell me about that.
Is as much as a Jericho-holic I am, Danielson is definitely going to take this one. You got to keep the momentum going with Danielson. Jericho as a heel doesn't hurt losing at all. I think it's going to be unfortunate. Last year at All Out, he was up for the retirement match against MJF, and he won. And, that would have been the biggest heartbreak moment of my life to see Jericho get put into retirement last year. Didn't happen.
Thank God it didn't happen. Thankfully, it didn't happen.
I would have walked home crying.
Yeah, thank God it didn't. You're right.
And then
last
year we saw Jericho win, and we saw Danielson debut at All Out, and now they're going head to head, which is great.
That's so true.
So pretty impressive and pretty surreal to think that. So I think Danielson's going to win this one. Garcia is going to join Danielson. Jericho is going to lose a double loss on this one. So, but I think Jericho might have some kind of last minute swerve up his sleeve to stand tall after all of that double loss.
Okay.
He's Jericho. He's a wizard.
You're right. You're right. He always has something up his sleeve, always pulls off a magic trick at some point in time. I think that the smart money here is on Danielson, right? I think that the slow burn with Garcia, it's starting to reach, a full flame, like a full inferno at this point. We all see what's going to happen here. Garcia is, as the fans like to say, he's a wrestler, and watching what has happened between him and Danielson has been an absolute joy. To just no different. It would be very fitting for him to be able to get a spot in the Blackpool Combat Club, given that he would be basically earning his way in the way that you're supposed to. You fight each other, you tear each other limb from limb, you beat respect into one another, and then you become peers.
Yeah.
And Yuto has
Garcia's
gone through that.
So good as a heel, though.
But I mean, I think that the Blackpool Combat Club has enough of an edge that keeps him being able to be himself. I don't think he needs. Okay, he's a heel, right? But I think Garcia was a heel before all this Jericho appreciation sports entertainer stuff. when he was with Team 2.0. And remember,
Yeah.
he was a straight man for Team 2.0, and he was a good heel, but he really
Great
was
heel.
he was a heel because he was a bulldog in the ring. And he fits that bulldog mentality of Blackpool Combat Club perfectly. I love it. I hope that that's what happens. But there is an interesting counter out here. Like, I think that John throws out a curveball, and it would be perfect Jericho mastermind brilliance for him to play us all, him and
You're
Garcia
right.
to be in on it this whole time, get us all to think that, Garcia is going to turn on Jericho and he's going to side with his hero and his mentor and the guy that he looked up to when he was a kid and be with Danielson and join the Blackpool. That would be brilliant by Jericho, and it wouldn't be out of character because Jericho is well known to be able to just always have something to keep us on our toes. That would be really interesting, John, and it would be really cool. And I know SPD would love it because the Jericho Appreciation Society, he is a full-fledged member without a doubt. So I think that would be really interesting swerve. But I picked Danielson because I think sometimes
Me too.
the best story is the obvious one. And I think this is one of those examples where, okay, it allows Daniel Garcia's character arc to take another step forward. If he turns on Danielson and joins up with Jericho again, he basically, to me, becomes Sammy Guevara 2.0, right? Because Sammy's been a guy who's, gone off and done his own thing and been a baby face for a little bit and then always found his way back to Jericho. And the Sex Gods, they have a unique bond. And I think that you allow Garcia to evolve and you allow him to explore what it means to be a part of just like that no nonsense, be himself and be comfortable in his own skin. I think that the Blackpool Combat Club could benefit from that. Having a guy like Garcia, another workhorse who is on, I know that he wrestles on AEW television as much as anybody. And to have a guy who could be a staple like that, a guy who's a grinder, I like it. Given how Yuta,
it's almost like the MJF CM Punk thing where it's like his hero, and then he turns on his hero and beats the crap out of his hero. But the other swerve of that whole this whole saga, I know we're kind of veering away from the match itself, but it's all intertwined. Is they already announced for Wednesday Wheeler Yuta versus Garcia in a match for the championship. So where does that play into effect? If is Danielson going to be split between his current member Yuta and his new member Garcia, or is it going to be a true Jericho Appreciation Society versus Blackpool again together? Yeah. So it's a
great question, SPD, but I think that again, the makeup of the Blackpool Combat Club is that they are forged in combat, right?
Yeah.
And so these are guys who Moxley has said it in his promos, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
That's what we are all about. And I think that group, it would fit their motto perfectly.
Yeah.
Yuta versus Garcia, the two young, hungry dogs of that group going at each other.
The hungry dogs.
And you have Yuta, who was kind of brought in and groomed by Moxley, and Garcia, who could be brought in and groomed by Danielson. Really, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you're right.
Yuta's entry into Blackpool Combat Club was through epic battles with Moxley, right?
That's a great point. I like
Garcia's getting through Danielson. I just think it would be like Danielson's protege versus Moxley's protege. It would be a perfect story. I like it a lot.
I like that. I did not think about that, man. That is very, very interesting. We're going to segue to the next segment, but first we're going to bring in pretty much, Finnegan. He is excited about this one. Our guy, Mind Runner.
What's going on, dude?
Yeah, Mind Runner.
Hey, everybody thought the new guest was what you were holding right there. Of course, only one of us is housebroken.
The Joker.
The Joker.
The Joker.
Hey, man. How's your all-out weekend going so far?
It's going fantastic. Today was more of a chill, kick back, relaxing. Of course, we did catch the special dark elevation that they had tonight, kind of setting things up. Pretty cool, but really excited for tomorrow, all out weekend. Really excited. Of course, if you want to get the picks right, just follow my picks on the Dynamite.
Did you listen to your wife? Because that's the only way you're going to get them all right.
I cannot confirm or deny, that I had some help with some of these picks, but
Yeah, she's pretty solid.
She's phenomenal. She's dominated us.
she's like 3-time champion, right?
And she's
2-time at
absolutely
least.
crushed the rankings and the predictions. That's why I am excited to have you on, because you living with your wife, she's naturally gonna give you some of her knowledge. So I'm excited to talk about some of these with you.
Not all the time. No, she's competitive. She lets me know it. You know, we've got
a couple up her sleeve.
We've got our own AEW belt, and she'll, like, when we make our picks, and she'll walk around. She puts her little tiara on. She's like, "Ha!"
As she deserves.
Yeah.
The champ is here.
Well,
That's right.
We talked about this before, like the 3 different ways to make your picks. You got your brain picks, which are like our buddy Bonds. You got your heart, which is Cray, and then you got your gut, which is one of the SPDs more like one of you guys. And sometimes when you go with your heart, or you go with your heart versus your gut, it's going to be bad news. When you go with your gut feeling, or sometimes you got to just go with your brain. But I got to tell you, about 2 weeks ago, I wasn't sure about this pay-per-view, but I'm in the last week, I'm super stoked. It's going to be awesome.
What's getting you all pumped up, man? Because I'll be honest with you, I've been really interacting a lot with AEW on social, and there are a few feuds that are really getting me, like, I think that have really taken this pay-per-view to another level. I'd love to hear what some of a couple of the highlights that you think are really getting you pulled in over the last couple of weeks.
Well, here's the thing. I wasn't even really that pumped about the main event, but except for the way that they went through it. And I heard, the dirt sheets, you hear this and that, and the other thing, that it was actually Mox's idea for him to get the title, but then in Chicago play this whole thing about, to really build up Punk, because if they waited until the pay-per-view to have the blow-off, or to have that match, it was just going to be kind of like, oh. But now they've got this whole, like, comeback story for CM Punk, which is pretty interesting.
That's true.
Interesting point. Deb, being a Chicago girl herself, her pick is Moxley. She's 100% behind Moxley on this.
Wow.
Yeah, so don't just assume that because you're from Chicago. She's a Moxley girl, so
wow,
that is going to be interesting. I actually am pumped more for some of what I think are some of the dark horse matches. I think Starks and Hobbs is going to be incredible.
Yeah,
I think this is one of those.
I'm pumped for that.
That's one of those sleeper matches that's just going to be the fact that they're giving it attention in a lot of the highlight reels, a lot of the road to. They've been giving a lot of extra attention to it. These are 2 arguably homegrown. I mean, I know Ricky had some previous TV time, but Ricky and Will Hobbs are homegrown talents.
Yes.
The future.
I agree.
The future. Here's Ricky and here's Will.
That's right.
What are you doing? But these are 2 homegrown talents that I think are just going to kill it. And this is going to be one of those, I want to say upsets, but one of those dark horse matches that just steals the show.
I agree. And it's in some of those times when you feel like, oh, it's a dark horse match because it's going to steal the show. Sometimes we talk about, oh, it's because of the work rate, right? Like a match where we just are confident that the in-ring work is going to be crazy. Now, again, both these guys are studs in the ring, but I agree with you. This is one of those matches that could potentially be ones that we remember long after All Out because of the emotion that has been poured into this match. Ricky Starks has been cutting. He's been cutting some fiery promos.
Yes.
But my guy Hobbs is like, he's countering so well. And I've been so impressed by Hobbs' ability to be able to really step up in this feud.
Right.
I mean, I think all of us knew in ring, Hobbs is a beast, but all of us knew that Starks, SPD, is one of your favorites because he's got that showmanship, right? He's got that star power. He oozes machismo, as they say. We all knew that Starks would be able to carry his weight in a one-on-one feud with anybody on the mic. But
right.
Hobbs has really stepped up in a way that
impressed me a lot.
I'm really blown away by his ability to. This is his breakout moment, and I've talked about it a lot. I think that like everything's starting to come together for the big man. I know that all eyes are on this match to see, the revenge from Ricky Starks and his breakthrough moment. But I think this is a set in the table where my guy Hobbs, he can really change some people's opinions on where he could be in the next 6 to 8 months based off of this match. He has the potential to propel in a way that, I've talked about it at length from the beginning of the show. Wardlow was my project where I said this is a guy who's raw, who could eventually become ungodly. He could become a man who has very few peers in the entire industry. He could be that kind of guy. I look at what Hobbs has. This is the potential launching point for Hobbs on a whole nother level, guys. I'm loving what I'm seeing of this. I love the energy, the emotion. They've got me pulled in, mind.
Yeah, I agree. And this is one of those that I'm not sure who really would lose anything if they lost, because I picked Hobbs just simply he's in the top 5. And this could catapult him into a Wardlow versus Hobbs feud for the TNT title. Which would
my God,
money! And I know Crayfish and I both picked Starks, and I think more for someone like Hobbs could take a loss and still just keep pushing. Starks, I feel like just because I know his charisma and all that is awesome, but just the physical size, if he takes such a beating or a loss to Hobbs. And loses, I feel like it loses more steam than Starks beating Hobbs, if that makes sense to you. But I picked
Who
Starks.
Did you pick? Who did you pick, mind?
I went with Hobbs. And the reason being is I agree with what you're saying, but AEW has been great about having great matches where even the loser still comes out looking great. And this is one, and I kind of can see, Rick, the path that Starks could go down is kind of a Hangman Page path where,
I like it.
He lost. Everybody turned on him. Hook took off with his FTW. You've got Hobbs turned on him. Taz wants nothing to do with him, and he feels kind of lost. Now, I don't think he's going to be getting a card from Stokely or anything like that. But I feel like this is a path where he can start to kind of go down this "I've lost my way." Whereas you just strap a rocket to Hobbs and put him in a feud with Wardlow. Granted, Wardlow will retain. But that would be a tremendous back and forth between the two of them. And that would just be unbelievable.
The reason why I went with Starks here, even though, I mean, Hobbs is making me quite proud on Team Heel right now. I mean, the dude is crushing it. The reason why I went with Starks here is just because, for me, I'm a big story guy, right? Like, I get involved and I still stay connected to wrestling because of the way it makes me feel, the emotion. And I think that the big story here is, they've talked about it over and over again. The reason why Hobbs turned on Starks is because Starks said that he was okay with losing.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, it would be poetic if that gets turned on its head. And Ricky talked about this in the Road 2, where he basically was saying, I said that because I knew I had what it takes to pull myself back up after I lose. And the greatest lesson I've learned in my career is having my neck broken, basically, and having to claw my way back into stardom when people doubted me, right? And so to flip that and force Hobbs then to learn that lesson by beating the man who turned on his friend.
Good point.
I think that it forces Hobbs then to kind of go through that moment of, like, this is a big man who we all think checks all the boxes, but as Brian is talking about in the chat, when was the last big W for Hobbs?
True.
Right? Like, Hobbs then can kind of almost this anger and this motivation that fueled him to turn on somebody who was his friend, then gets forced inward, where he has to learn the same lesson of, like, wait a second, I've lost big matches myself. How is it making me get better? And it would be the ultimate story, I think, of Ricky's a bit further ahead,
right,
in his career development and life development as far as these types of things than Hobbs. And just that one little moment that he's learned that lesson, that sometimes in our greatest moments of failure those are our greatest teachers. And Hobbs needs to sort of learn that in order to break through. I think that to me is the story here. And I think it would just be kind of a bummer if this whole story has been about Ricky's okay with losing, and that's why Hobbs couldn't be partners with him, and then Ricky loses again. I guess I am okay. I don't know. Unless they want this to continue on, right? And maybe he loses here, and then there's another matchup after. I don't know. But I just think that the story here makes the most sense for me to have Starks come out as the conquering hero. And Hobbs there is one of those guys that just based off of his presence alone, he's always going to have credibility, guys. I mean, Hobbs is always going to be one booking, one match away from going to that next level.
Absolutely. And you make an interesting point too about how sometimes a winning streak can be a curse. You know, Hobbs is in the top 5, but most of those are dark squash matches that he's in there, and he hasn't had a big W.
Point.
And between the two guys, Hobbs has more to lose. You know, if Hobbs wins, big deal. Hobbs, you know, you were the loser. You said you're okay with losing. I didn't. Now, but if Starks wins, now Hobbs is the one that has to deal with losing.
You're right. See,
and that can just set him off.
Exactly. And
I want to change my pick for you guys told me, but it's already locked in.
Going into this match too, right? Like Hobbs is the one that turned on Starks, right? Hobbs is the one who's bigger and stronger, and he's the one who's always
great.
kind of, right? If he wins this match, it's like, okay, Hobbs, yeah, you beat the guy who's smaller than you and the one who you turned on. Great, good for you. If he loses, it's just I think it creates more long-term storytelling. And I think AEW is really big on building those characters, sometimes through losses. So that's why I went with Starks, even though in my heart I kind of want Hobbs to win, I'll be honest with you.
No,
anyway.
Hobbs is cool.
Yeah.
Root for him.
There's another match that I really want to talk about. And I think that SPD, man, you knew exactly where I was going. I wanted to be able to have mine come in here because you're somebody who I know. I'll be honest with you. I think that you have a great insight on the women's division. I think that you're somebody who's really passionate about women's wrestling, and I've always loved being able to bounce off the kind of conversations with you about this because sometimes, again, I'm somebody who goes with my gut, with my heart, right? I'm somebody who just like, I love certain characters and I want them to win. And it's good for me to have people who I think are a little bit more balanced in some of these things like you. Tell me what you think about this match and how it's been built, kind of impromptu, off the misfortune of one of our mutual favorites. Where do you see give it first before you tell us your pick? Kind of ease us into this one, right? This is kind of like a big deal match that kind of happened out of nowhere, right?
You're right.
This has been kind of a snake bitten type of match with Statlander and her injury. That I think that threw a lot of the backstage plans off because it looked like, you know, as they were positioning Athena to feud with Jade. I think Statlander was going to be Statlander versus Thunder Rosa originally. I think that's where they were thinking.
Okay.
But then at the last minute, they're like, well, crap, we got to switch it up. And so that's why because they were really pushing the Thunderstorm dynamic. They were selling shirts. And I think they're dipping their toe. If you notice, if you kind of watch in the women's division, they're getting a taste. Just getting a taste. They're getting a taste of women's tag teams. There's been a lot more like legitimate tag teams, you know, Britt and
I am in
Jamie
love
Hayter.
with the pairing of Britt and Jamie Hayter. I love them together.
They're even dressing
them together.
They've got their Cody Homelander clothes on. They're together.
Love it.
They're working very good. Well, and all of a sudden, you know, with Statlander out, now Toni Storm is the legitimate contender. I feel like the plan was to take the belt off of Thunder, not necessarily like in a you know, punishments faction, but just kind of to freshen things up. And I felt like the original plan going in when it was Toni Storm versus Thunder was for Toni Storm to get the belt. Even though she hasn't been with us that long, I felt like that was where the direction they were going, which is why going into this match, she is my pick to win, even though there's so many different directions you can go. One of the frustrating things, though, is kind of how this match came down. Now, again, sometimes the ends justify the means. I don't know much in this case, but I'm a lot more excited about this match than I was about Toni Storm versus Thunder Rosa. And you know, I'm a diehard Thunder Rosa fan. She's my number one. Anything Thunder Rosa versus a Grizzly Bear, I'm going to watch it. It's everything. But I feel like there's probably some stuff behind the scenes we'll never know. But I feel like it was a bit unfair with some of Tony Khan's comments about, you know, how the difference between a CM Punk 8-minute promo about how he had to go had to release and create an interim champion versus a quick little segment with Thunder Rosa backstage. I felt like they could have set this up different. Now, the argument is, well, a Thunder Rosa 8-minute promo isn't going to be as much of a draw, but you don't need a 8-minute Thunder Rosa promo to promote this whole thing. Now, I'll argue against. A lot of people say that Thunder Rosa is not so good on the mic. If that's the case, you need to go check out Mission Pro Wrestling. Thunder Rosa cuts crazy promos on there. They wouldn't have brought her on Busted Open Radio if they didn't know she could talk on a microphone.
A good point.
That's a great point.
She's huge. But having said that, I feel like it's also a bit unfair to compare Thunder Rosa to CM Punk, because like, for example,
they do things differently, right? Like, and that's one of the things that, like, to jump in, right? Like,
absolutely,
that's one of the things about her versus, like, her and Britt Baker. What I loved about their feud was that they were very different, right? Like, Britt is very much like the over the top personality who is incredible on the mic, who is got that I think that got that personality that it makes her feel like a star, but Thunder is the grit, right? Thunder is that underdog hero, the one that, like, we all can get behind. This has that fire and that passion. So that's what made those two work. And I think that it's fair to say, like, everybody brings different things to the table. And that's one of the things I love about this match, right? Is Britt, again, I think, is that she'll always have her haters who view her as just
I saw what you did there. Her haters.
So she'll always have her haters who are a couple of haters. Jamie hater
might be losing one of her haters.
She might. You're right. In this instance, though, she'll always have her critics who say that she's all style and no substance, right? Like that Brit's all sizzle, no steak. That she can really cut a killer promo and look like a champion, but doesn't deliver in the ring quite like a Thunder Rosa can, right? You'll always have people like that say that about Britt, but I personally think that Britt is a big star for a lot of reasons. I think that she to me is head and shoulders above a lot of her peers when it comes to the way that she connects with the audience and the camera. I think that she's always on, and that's one of the things that makes Britt special. That doesn't mean that she's on the same level as a Jamie Hayter or a Shida in this match when it comes to in-ring work, right? Mm-hmm. I love Jamie Hayter's in-ring work. She was my dark down. I wanted to write down Jamie Hayter so bad. I wanted to write down Jamie Hayter so bad, but I didn't. But I was this close. And the reason why is I love that Jamie's that bully in the ring. There are very few people who wrestle like her in AEW who like they look like they want to rub your face into the mat and kick you while you're down. I love Jamie and just that bully mentality she brings. And Shida has truly, guys, I know that we don't get to see Shida a lot on television. But if you seek out Shida content, this is as good of an in-ring performer as there is in women's wrestling, not just AEW. This is as good of a performer in ring as there is in wrestling when it comes to her strikes, her ability to get fired up. I love what Shida brings in a very confident style now. She's not the same person she was when we first started this show. You could see that she's become so much more polished and more comfortable with this edge.
Even after she's lost the championship, she's a totally new Shida now.
I agree. She has more of an edge to her now that makes her feel that much more compelling.
That feud with Serena Deeb, I think, was where we saw that come to fruition, where she just really blossomed.
I agree, and it's no wonder why that happened in a feud with the Professor. For me, like, I looked at this match and I said, story-wise, obviously, anytime Britt's involved in the title, I think it makes sense. And that's why Jamie also made sense too. But I felt like the person who feels to me like all the stars are aligning and it makes the most sense right here, right now to win this match is Toni Storm. And that's why I picked her. I feel like Toni has some of the attributes that Britt has when it comes to somebody who doesn't will. I've said this to you before, SPD, in the past. She has been put in situations where she's gone toe-to-toe with Britt Baker on the microphone, and she has never once wavered. Toni has shown that she can stand toe-to-toe with Britt on the mic. And then you look at what she could do in the ring. that running hip attack that she throws is one of the
music.
Your guys' facial expressions say it all. It's one of the most one of the most fun moves in wrestling right now, and it's one of those ones that make you cringe every time you see it because it looks like it's gonna hurt really freaking bad.
Snap your neck every single time.
And the way that Britt sold it that one time too, I truly thought she was hurt.
Britt. Yeah,
I was like, oh, she's really hurt, and then
I was convinced.
Yeah.
So to me, I just looked at this match and I said, okay, I look at the dark horse as Jamie, right? I want to root for Jamie. I'm all in on some of those theories out there of people saying like she should win and break out of Britt's shadow and they could have a feud and that would be awesome. And it would also play off of Britt's recent promo where she talked about how people look at her as the villain, but she's truly the hero. And it would also
was a fantastic promo.
Yeah,
planting a seed right there that maybe she becomes the hero. Jamie turns on her, and we don't realize how bad a villain could be until we see how bad Jamie could be. You never know, right? But for me, I looked at it and I said, okay, Jamie is my dark horse. I wish that she was ready to win, but I just don't see it. I just don't see it yet. Britt, I think that
Tony Storm.
I picked Tony Storm. We all picked Tony.
Okay, which I think it makes sense. Like, it's only fair to me. It's only fair. There's chat about the interim title, and there's, we could talk about that, the whole interim BS stuff. But thinking about it, I think it protects the champ. It gives them a little bit of like, you work so hard to get to the top, and just to forfeit it because of an injury. Yes, it sucks. I mean, like you talked about earlier in the show, Crayfish, no off season.
Right.
Things happen. Yeah. You pushing and pushing and pushing. You're trying to get these people that are paying their admission, taking time off work and giving them the show of their life.
Have a good time.
And so to have an interim champ on paper, yes, it's kind of crummy, but at least it gives the champion to redeem themselves and lose the title fairly. And so that's what we're saw on CM Punk, and that's what hopefully we'll see with Thunder Rosa and Tony Storm to get the match that they were supposed to have tomorrow, eventually down the line. Storyline, and I think to Tony Storm, you already have a heel champ in Jade, but if you had someone like Jamie Hayter, I think we would all be jumping for joy, and it'd probably be one of the most biggest surprises of the night if Jamie Hayter were to get the title, and we would all welcome it with open arms. And it was someone who actually earned it and deserves it, and really will hold that title with dignity and do that title proud. I mean, it would be great.
It would be compelling just to, like, it's not going to happen, but it'd be compelling to see Jamie Hayter win and Britt just side-eyeing her in promos afterwards. Here's Jamie
that would be
with
a lot
the
of
title, and Britt just kind of like, I'm still the face of the women's division, and just kind of slowly building one of those.
like mine. That's true. That's a great one.
That would be
I think that we all agreed with Tony because she feels like it just makes the most sense, right? She's the most polished right now for this. She's in the best position for it. And SPD, you said it. They were building towards Thunderstorm. Those two have great character, like charisma and connection together. It makes all the sense in the world. I mean, position it so that Tony can have a great run and maybe even have a program with a couple of these girls that are in this match, right?
What if you had when Thunder comes back, they're both interim champs just for, let's say, a week or two as like mini tag team, and it's almost
that'd be fun.
Catapulting the actual tag team titles.
I like that.
The tag teams. I don't know, but let's segue into the tag team titles on that, because talk about promos that really set.
My favorite.
You talked about "Oh, bask in His glory."
Whose house?
Whose house?
So
I love this.
Couple things like on this the promo segment. I was hoping for a in-ring promo of this, so we could see the Acclaim come to the ring and Daddy Ass, Scissor Me Daddy Ass t-shirt available now. But honestly, the Swerve hit it out of the park here. And, when we were at Battle of the Belts in Grand Rapids in early August, Swerve and actually all four of these guys came out backstage, and we were out there with some of the fans and marking out for all of them. We got scissored by the Acclaimed, which is great. And Keith Lee and Swerve were like super genuine and nice. Both these teams are so fun to root for. And the Acclaimed, not that they've been getting over for months and months and months, but now I think it is almost at the peak, especially with Daddy Ass up there. But Swerve and the Glory, Crayfish, I know you are definitely the conductor of this train right now, and you are all in on these guys. The Acclaim being tag team champs, yes, I want it to happen. Will it happen tomorrow? I would love it and welcome it, but that's not my pick. Swerve and the Glory, I still think they have a lot of juice in the tank, unless there's some kind of, we saw early on Swerve with the kind of, eliminating Keith Lee and kind of that. But I think I agree. I think we're past that. But Swerve hit it out of the park with the promo last night, and I think they really are starting to be that Rock tag team and really clicking really well and a lot of fun to watch. And I really do want a run with the Acclaimed. I think they deserve it. I think, okay, yes, they're not the Young Bucks or Lucha Brothers in the ring, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about that. You talk about the New Age Outlaws. This isn't just as an extension of a New Age Outlaws to me. Super fun to watch. Catchphrases, merch, the total package, but they still had awesome runs. And so the Acclaimed, I hope they get I hope they maybe get a rematch with these guys down the line. Let's just say in New York, Caster's from New York, and then maybe get the titles then. Tomorrow, I don't think so yet, but I'm excited for this match because the Acclaimed, everybody loves the Acclaimed, and Scissor Me Daddy Ass. That Scissor Me Daddy Ass is going to get probably one of the biggest pops of the night.
I'll let you jump in here in a second.
Yeah.
I just want to say it is very fitting to me that it says a lot when the Acclaimed are involved in a segment and you're talking about the other person, the other team having the memorable promo, right? Having the memorable
rare.
line. That's very rare. And it speaks volumes to Swerve, man. I am firmly behind Swerve and Our Glory. I love these guys. I think that they've really found, over the course of our lives, you think about all the different teams that have been like a mashup of two singles guys that just get together, and can they coexist, and can they make it work? This is one of those where they've really found something special here, guys. I am so behind what I've seen in this group. I love Keith Lee's just stoic, calm, badass vibe that he gives, and Swerve is just always, he's got that that sneaky, conniving energy to him that he carries over from his promos to his in-ring work. The guy is always looking for a way to get one up on the other person. And it's no wonder why he was able to slay the Acclaimed in this promo, dude. Both teams brought facts, right? Platinum Max talked about how they're the winningest team in AEW history, how they are a homegrown team. They have the top 2 products on AEWshop.com. They have it all. They check all those boxes. They're as big of how often when you hear the siren, everybody goes wild. All that's true. And then Swerve came in after that and just slit him up, man. Just ripped them both apart, bro. It was like watching. To me, again, there are a few promos where you can just see somebody just taking a scalpel and just cutting somebody down. When he went after Bowens about his body giving up on him, and then talk that line about
Rock beats scissors.
The Rock beats scissors, man, just crushed it. I've been really a proponent for these guys getting a nice long run and against bigger names, right? I was worried that Swerve and Our Glory were going to get some of these title defenses that didn't mean anything to the fans. This one's going to mean something because there's a lot of people out there who are dying to see the Acclaims as champs, and SPD, I get it. I think that they're one of those teams that are so over right now. Let them do their thing. They're still super popular. It's good.
They don't need it, but it would be awesome to have them.
Keith Lee and Swerve are on another. When it comes to the match quality, guys, when it comes to what we could see in the ring, and some of the opponents that the Swerve and Our Glory haven't had a chance to go against yet, I want to see them get some chances against. I want to see them against the Lucha Brothers. I want to see them against the Young Bucks. I want to see them against some of these teams that what you want
to see, Crayfish.
FTR. I want to see it all. I want to see it all, baby.
Yes.
Give it to me.
Give it to me. That's been ranked for number 1 for how many months?
Yeah. Can you imagine Swerve and Our Glory versus FTR? Just think about that for a second. Just think about those two going at it. I think that would be a tremendous, tremendous match. And I think that's what's coming. I think we're all kind of unanimous that it's not the Acclaim's time. We love them. They're great. Question for both of you. Do you think we might also hear a rap diss from Swerve to counter the Acclaim?
That would be interesting because we know nice. Swerve. I like that. I like that idea a lot. That would
Acclaim
actually
comes out, they do their rap, and then Swerve comes out and says, "Yo, yo," and then comes out and does a rap back at him. I think that might be interesting.
That'd be kind of cool, man. To see him kind of what he could deliver on that. And to show off the other talents that he has, man. That'd be pretty sweet.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
Not only beat him on the mic, but then beat him in the ring, man. That would be would be ruthless.
I think that's
like
happen.
Swerve. Usually the champs come out last, but usually the Acclaimed come out last because of their diss tracks. So I don't know. That'd be pretty interesting. I mean, since he's got that rap history for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Swerve in the Glory has only had the belt since mid-July, and so this is still a very new reign. And you know they've had some good defenses, and so I'm happy for this. You know, I predicted when we were talking a couple weeks ago, Crayfish was like, who's going to fight Swerve in the Glory, and I predicted Andrade and Roosh, which would have been a pretty good match. If Swerve in the Glory beat those two, that would be one of their most accomplished wins, other than when they beat the Young Bucks for the belts. So, but I'm all for this, and I think it's a win-win. Like the Acclaimed are someone that I want to see carry the belts, but they definitely don't need it, especially with Daddy Ass in their corner, because they're going to be over no matter what they do.
Right.
I think it's going to be tremendous. Yeah, it's like Cray, like you said, Cray. There's so many other teams that we got to see Swerve in our Glory take on. You know, we got to see. I mean, heck, House of Black. Imagine Swerve in our Glory versus Buddy Matthews and Brody King.
That's a great point.
Jeez.
That would be tremendous. So yeah, point. I think the Acclaimed will get it someday, but
not yet.
It's time for Swerve in our Glory.
It's still their time. I'm glad to hear you guys all on the same page because I'm loving this title reign.
Same.
All right, Crayfish, take it away. You know how I felt, and we predicted this trios tournament. Throw up the claws. Dark Order being the dark horse to win this. Yep. And I got a lot to talk about this, but I want to hear both Mindrunner and Crayfish your take on this. I'm all for this because I've here at Dynamite Down, we've been a Dark Order fan since very early on. And it was pretty cool last week or 2 weeks ago when they were, it was Johnny Hungy, Reynolds, and 10, all guys who have been on Dynamite Download interviews versus House of Black. But now that this is actually happening in the finals, and we're hearing all the rumblings of the Bobby Fish shenanigans and the Undisputed shenanigans, before I talk about where I'm going with this, originally I picked the Dark Order to win, especially with what they've been playing up on BTE and stuff like that. But now with a Undisputed interference screwing over the Bucks and the Elite and feuding with that. But now I'm kind of second guessing that. So where are you at, Crayfish?
I mean, I still went with the Dark Order, or I think I still oh no, did I? I can't remember. Did I pick the Dark Order? I picked the Dark Order.
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, the reason why I thought that I was I flip flopped on this one a bunch of times, right? I think the main reason why I'm sticking with the Dark Order is Don Callis's promo to Hangman about talking about how turning on your friends is good for business and things like that. I think that again, Hangman's always had those moments where his character has been challenged and he always comes through. So I think that the home team of AEW, the Dark Order winning is great for from a feel good perspective. That said, nothing the only thing that could really push Hangman back to being, to me right now, from a credibility standpoint, back to being in the same stratosphere as CM Punk again after what's been happening. I think he needs a push back up. Right now, I think he's been kind of cut down a little bit. Is for him to potentially maybe go heel and join the Elite. I don't know. I think that
are the Elite heels right now?
Yeah, good question.
Good point. That's a good point. Are they?
They don't come out the heel tunnel.
Okay. And they are getting big pops.
Play that heel vibe on BTE.
I know. And they still have Don Callis.
And Matt Jackson do a great job. And they do have Don Callis. So I
hope
we get a lot of those questions answered.
I don't know. That is true.
See,
this is going to be one of those matches where I have a really hard time picking the winner because I think a lot of people would be upset if the Elite won, just because it would be like, oh, of course Kenny and the Young Bucks, of course the Kenny and the Young Bucks won.
Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are the best in the world at what they do. They should be winning. So
you're right.
I mean, I picked weeks ago. I wanted the Dark Order to win. I didn't think Hangman would necessarily be on the Dark Order's team. I think he was going to be in their corner and kind of have some kind of
which would have been interesting.
Them. And just to give that Dark Order a push, who's a team that, yes, have been essentially the home team of AEW and kind of put on the back burner for many, many months, if not the past year, kind of living on Dark and stuff like that. But when they did get that opportunity on Dynamite and TV, that they were really maximizing their time. But that being said, it's not really a knock too much on them, but the match quality that we're seeing out of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks is leaps and bounds better than the match quality I've seen out of the Team Dark Order, even with Hangman. I know what Dark Order can do, and Johnny Hungy and Alex Reynolds can put on great tag team matches. The chemistry there, it's a lot of fun. And Hangman, when those three teamed together before, but for some reason it just wasn't clicking when the last few weeks in the ring with them for some, with two roll-up finishes, and then you have the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega.
Which is one of your things that drives you nuts. Absolutely.
I don't care, even though I'm happy who won, aka Dark Order, I still hate a roll-up finish. On Rampage, you got two roll-up finishes. I just can't stand it. That aside, you talk about Team Elite beating the Death Triangle, Team Elite beating Will Ospreay and Aussie Open. Yes, the Rampage bracket may be a little bit weaker on paper, and the finishes may be a little weaker, but those two teams are, the Elite put on two matches that could have been the finals.
Absolutely.
And I think for storyline, I would love the Dark Order to get some love and, Hangman to get gold back, but I can't imagine it would take the Undisputed, or it would take a freight train, honestly.
Well, your idea of like having outside interference, it was. I think you were right. It was, the table was set that was going to be, the undisputed. It was going to be undisputed, right? But now, after what we just saw with United Empire and with Ospreay, they put a beating on these guys post match. Do they play a role at all out? And if so, can that be the catalyst then for what we all want to see is Ospreay? United like Empire versus the Elite, then like Ospreay kind of going one-on-one against Kenny. I think that there is something there, right?
Yeah. So if it's not the Undisputed interfering, not necessarily interfering, but let's say costing them with distraction and stuff, then it could be the Aussie Open or United Empire. So it's a good swerve. So it still could play.
We certainly know that there's a lot of chemistry between Kenny and Ospreay, and they're bleeding into it on social media. I think, it would make sense to cash in on that, right? I think that, and again, like, then you protect the Elite, right? And you give them a focus to go after that side feud, and you let the Dark Order get that feel-good win, which is the home team of AEW, and you let, I think, what we've seen, Hangman then becomes a leader and gets to defend these belts and gives him a purpose, because I personally don't see Hangman being in the world title scene anytime soon. Allow him to pivot into something that still makes him important and recognizes his value to the brand, but allows the main event scene to be the world title scene be focused on a few other key players.
Mindrunner and I both picked the Elite. I switched back to the Elite just because of the match quality that they've been going on. And, even though early on I wanted Dark Order to win, and I hope they do, but just because of what I've saw out of the tournament, the
Elite have put on some amazing matches, man.
2 roll-up wins versus 2 matches of the years.
Yeah, but that's all the more reason why the Dark Order is going to win. They got luck on their side, bro.
Hey, they got Johnny Hungy. Johnny Hungy got the pinfall. I mean, come on.
Johnny Hungy. Now they got the Cowboy, man. They're winning this one. There's no doubt.
After the
match,
there was no clear main event. Rumors and rumblings of what the main event was going to be. But now, after quite the promo battle back and forth throughout of Dynamite last week.
Oh my god!
Very, very impressive. After
you set the stage for this one too really well. This
3-minute ass whooping 2 weeks ago in Cleveland, and then the promo battle between this. What do you think is going to happen on this Mind Runner? There's so many different spider webs that are going back and forth in my mind. Like, where do you see this? I know we all picked CM Punk to win, but where do you see it going? How?
This is going to be the match that Moxley was talking about in his last promo that they didn't get with the twist of his ankle or his foot or whatever.
Yeah, dig in with dirt underneath his fingernail.
This is going to be that glorious unscripted violence, and Mox's going to come out, he's going to do his thing and all that. But this is going to end with CM Punk with the victory. It's going to be brutal, and Mox is going to be just bringing everything. It's going to be back and forth. CM Punk's going to probably be blown up for most of the match, bless his heart, but it's going to be. I mean, it's in Chicago, and it's AEW has gone out of their way to not have hometown favorites lose in their hometown. Not always.
You're right.
But a lot of times,
you're right.
And I feel like this was the plan the whole time was, and it was instead of just having this match and then of course CM Punk have the title, retain the title. The way they went about it is they did kind of that character story arc where Punk lost miserably in a squash, and then now he's coming back and he's going to win in his hometown. He's going to overcome the odds, including his foot, and he's going to win. Moxley is still got the Combat Club. He's got a whole set of villains waiting for him to take on. But I feel like the plan is to put it back on CM Punk. But it's not going to be a quick match. It's going to be
I agree.
Back and forth and bloody, and it's going to be all over the place. Exactly. You're going to have people offering their babies up to CM Punk. Just like it's going to be crazy. But and again, we're a Moxley family here. We love Moxley.
All of us are Moxley family here.
Yes, we all want Moxley to win.
I just see, again, I feel like CM Punk coming out as champion, and who knows what's going to happen with MJF. I almost feel like putting MJF back into it with CM Punk would almost be a little bit too soon and redundant. But imagine some of the matches you can still have with CM Punk as champion. And let's be honest, he doesn't have much more in him. Well, I don't know. Maybe he does. I mean, look at Sting. He's in his 60s doing it. But it'd be great down the line to see CM Punk against a Ricky Starks, or a CM Punk take on a bunch of these different guys. But I feel like it's going to be CM Punk pulling it out at the end. But it's going to be a incredible back and forth throughout the whole thing, and there's going to be a lot of near falls. There's going to be a lot of what's going on. But I don't see this one having interference. I don't see this one where MJF or somebody comes down. I feel like this is going to be a straight up. And I feel like CM Punk is going to get the win clear in the ring.
I like
it. I see it.
Mox has been getting just as big of pops as CM Punk, if not more, in my opinion. So I think Tony Khan, the fans are smart. Unless you see someone turn heel, this is a win-win.
Yeah. Well, you heard that crowd. It was even. They were like CM Punk, Moxley. It was even.
You're right.
Both sides were cheering about the same level.
I think this has definitely been one of those feuds that has kind of helped polarize the fan base in a good way, right? There are those of us who are clinging to our love of Moxley because we're we look at him as he talks about the heart. SPD, you say it over and over again. He's the heart and soul of AEW, right? I think there are some of us who are the diehard AEW fans, even though we all like CM Punk. I think all of us think that he adds value to this brand. There are a few who can cut a promo or carry a feud quite like he can. He's so good at what he talks about is selling tickets, getting people intrigued in his matches. He's really good at that. But all of us are kind of all homegrown. We all root for the underdogs. We all want the AEW guy to conquer him. And it's kind of interesting for me because it's flips the whole CM Punk narrative on its head when he was against John Cena, where he was the perennial underdog going against this big star who would come kind of represented the management's choice. Let's be honest, Tony Khan is a mark for CM Punk. And he's made it very clear in some of his press appearances how big he is a fan of CM Punk. this is kind of interesting where now Moxley feels like that homegrown guy that we want to root for to overcome and win. The odds are against him, even though he's the champion. I love it. I hope that like people are throwing beers at Moxley. I hope that people are booing him out of the building. I hope he has that Bulldogs mentality of like coming in and wanting to me against the world, literally Chicago surrounding him with boos. I hope that the crowd, the home crowd, reacts the way that they did with that Punk promo, where literally people were offering him their baby, just holding up their baby is take my child. I hope that their love for Punk comes through that much in that match, because I think Moxley, even though he's that baby face, even though he's that guy who is he's the champion and we all want to root for, Moxley has that dog in him, guys.
Yeah.
Like, Moxley's got that anger and that fire in his belly.
He's kind of a modern day Stone Cold, you know? He's
exactly
anti-hero, you know?
Yeah, if he goes into a situation where he's got like his back against the wall, I think that we're going to get the best version of Jon Moxley.
Yes.
So I'm geeked out about this match, and I'm really I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see Moxley win. I just think like if Punk loses this in his hometown,
it kind of puts a nail in his coffin. I hate to say it, like that's what I was thinking about.
I agree with you, Mike.
If CM Punk loses, it kind of really takes the wind out of him. If Moxley loses, it's all right, I'll go beat someone else up. But if it was CM Punk, if CM Punk loses, it really tarnishes his shine. I think. That's what I
agree with you.
Do you want to see
especially
CM Punk
after what happened?
I don't think he needs to. Do you think?
Okay.
What do you think, Craig? You think he's going
to? You're asking the wrong. I'm asking the wrong one here.
Team heel, right? I know.
You know what I want?
Do you see
I think it'd
him,
be great.
Like, do you think he needs to turn heel though? Like I almost feel like he doesn't need to turn heel to really keep his momentum.
I don't think he has to turn heel, right?
There's
I think
been
that
a lot of seeds about that, but I think
even the way he got injured, he literally turned his heel and got hurt.
But you did that.
I think that quite honestly, like I always find heel champions to be fun, and I think that Punk we've been able to see babyface Punk and even like tweener Punk, like where he's walked that line where like his feud with Eddie Kingston, like he was a savage on the mic and like literally like like embarrassed Eddie Kingston at points and that, and like really was like ruthless. Punk has blurred the line. He went after Hangman, took some pot shots that had the dirt sheets going crazy. Like Punk is definitely a guy who will walk that line, but he hasn't given us full heel CM Punk yet in AEW, and I don't know. I like seeing that. I don't know if he'll be a heel. I think that like
well, here's the thing. Like, sorry to cut you off, Crayfish.
No, you're good, bro.
I know we're wrapping things up, but we all can kind of agree CM Punk's going to win, whether he turns heel or not. Who do you think will dethrone CM Punk next? Who do you want to see the next champ? And I think it has to be MJF, because
their history, that feud that they had was
the feud is gold, but it only makes sense to bring. I think you need to have a homegrown AW. You had Hangman, obviously, and Kenny, but like MJF, like if you're gonna have the whole debacle about not using me and paying me, I think he has to come back in a vengeance of I'm the top paid guy, I deserve everything, and now I'm gonna be the champ, and I am the champ. Like give him what he wants.
All right, does he come back as a baby face?
Never. MJF will never be a baby face.
And if he comes back as a baby face, the Pinnacle has already turned face.
Yeah.
So does he kind of come back? Is this kind of where we go with that? I don't know. I agree what you're saying about the homegrown, because let's be honest, CM Punk, everybody seems to love CM Punk, but he is an interloper. He is somebody from outside that's come in. He's not a Darby Allin or a Ricky Starks or a Powerhouse Hobbs. He's not homegrown. And so that might be a good angle is you got to put him up against a homegrown talent. And MJF, arguably, in 2024 might be different, but
I think that he is the defining homegrown talent of AEW. I agree with you.
And it would be so
Absolutely.
fun to have him as the champ, just berating and shitting on everyone every single week. It would be so great.
But I also agree with Mind that there is something interesting there with, like, think about it. Wardlow is the TNT champion. FTR has gold.
They've got all.
It would be so interesting if, like, they're all four of them, like the story of the Pinnacle, how they're like now they're all champs. I don't know. That would be really interesting. But I agree. Ultimately, I agree with you, SPD. There are certain characters that are just meant to be heels.
Yeah.
And I just think MJF, you don't break it. I mean, he's so good at what he does. Just let him do his thing. Let him be. Now, even like you said, imagine if he comes back and Tony Khan gave him all he wanted, paid him all he wanted. And MJF could cut a promo like be like, Tony threw all this money at Punk and thought that he was going to be the man who was the ratings god. He was going to be the one who put us over 1 million.
I want that.
He was going to put us over 1 million every single week, and he realized that Punk was old and broken down, and he couldn't do it, and he's not half the wrestler that I am. I'm better than the best in the world, and now I proved it. Now I'm the champ. I would love that. Just make MJF be as insufferable as possible. That's the
gold
best
carpet
recipe.
coming out in Rolls Royces, like saying he's just dripping
The
money.
robe.
Oh yeah.
Yes. The robe. Let it all. Just give us the most obnoxious, over the top, rich world
he's the new
champion
Ric Flair.
MJF.
He's the new Ric Flair.
Let him be it. Lean into it.
Just like John Cena never went heel, MJF is never going babyface.
I like it, SPD. I like it. That's a great call. I think that they should lean into that. I think that would be a great pick eventually. And again, building off their history, it just makes perfect sense. And what a moment for MJF on a personal level. I know we all think he's a total dirtbag, but for him to be a guy who, like, who was a little kid who loved CM Punk, to win his first AEW World Championship by beating CM Punk.
Yeah.
That's a pretty amazing moment. And maybe Tony offers him that as part of his contract and says, hey, man, there's things that are bigger than money. There's things that are bigger than money. I can let you live out a childhood dream and beat CM Punk for the world title. I mean, that's a big bargaining chip if you're TK.
I got to go with my wife. I just saw the comment. Here's what happens. CM Punk retains. MJF beats CM Punk. And then the shocking reveal that he gets his match is one-on-one. The one man that has been a thorn in MJF's side in his lose column, the Captain Sean Dean gets his moment to shine.
And he becomes world champion, even just for a day.
Yes.
I love it. I would love that.
That's a great way to end in saluting the captain.
Here's to the captain.
Here's to the
All
captain.
weekend.
You got a dream. You got to shoot for the stars. Hey, Mind Runner, man. Love having you on as always, man. You're great talking to you. I love our preview shows because I know we only scratched the surface. There's still so many matches that we could dive deep, spend another hour and a half on this. But tomorrow's show is going to be fantastic. Buckle up as always because the pay-per-views. I like how they do 4 pay-per-views because the landscape changes so much after them, and it's so fun. And I know we keep the key word is MJF. It's just like I don't want to see him tomorrow. I really don't. Hold those cards tight. Let this show thrive in and of itself. You don't need it. Throw in that surprise Joker, maybe a return of someone else, maybe a Luchasaurus or a Lance Archer, something like that. But save your ace in the hole, which there's no bigger ace in the hole than MJF, for somewhere where you really need it, and it can stand alone on it, like the Arthur Ashe show. So
I agree. I think that's a great call, guys. This was a lot of fun, fellas.
Thanks everyone for joining us, man. It was a great crowd
chat was
tonight.
really lively. It was really great. Loved it.
So we'll chat with you guys all during the show. We'll be live on our Twitter and be just buckled up, ready to go for All Out tomorrow.
Sure. We'll be
Can I make
buckled
a
up for
suggestion?
sure.
Can I make a suggestion? Can we, to appease Crayfish for me picking Kip Sabian over Pac, can we sing the Pac song that whenever he wins in his title matches? He's a bastard. He's a bastard. He's a bastard. Yes, he is.
There's Mind Runner's pick. He picked Kip Sabian.
He's a bastard. Yes, he is.
I love it. Thank you, Mind. Way to leave me smiling on the way out. I appreciate that.
Dukes.
Love y'all. Thanks for joining us. Have a great Saturday night, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. And an amazing show and All Out.
A taste.